Audio check. Video is going to be on YouTube link.
Nice.
Thank goodness.
Are we good?
Hey, Daryl, can you hear us?
I heard. Mr. Hudson.
You sound good.
Oh,
Ooh.
the signing and the cheeseburger social. Oh, you got a lot of fish. A lot of fish. Oh.
All right, I'm going to pop this in the chat. So I can't take video to two places at once. I have to read this for the public. So go to the link, you'll be able to see our video.
So, we in the Colonel, we missed the Nini Hall Mitchell.
It's
all right. It's like 800 miles short and they do like all the blue skies. Like a small window in the calendar. Fly already and go hunting. Robinson. How about Friday? Bring the black off. It's hard, you know, they don't communicate that well. And sometimes they get kind of irritated, like, well, don't call us up. Trying, I said, I know I tried, I like Red Ridge. I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Okay, so.
Sure.
Me,
Yeah.
You're in the,
And then
The weather was
Saul said you knew plenty of wines. Never realized someone we are.
somebody's niece or daughter. You went to see my niece or daughter or something like that, he said? Oh, yeah. That was me. Oh.
You just want to. I want to talk to the other
The nice people.
Of course. Machine.
They sent it to me, but Android converts it junk, so it comes low res on my phone. I gotta see that.
Because you want
I get Android and not the iPhone.
Okay, just letting you know again, please go to your chat and the Teams if you want the video for this video. You have to cast it live for the public. So working with our webcam, we can only cast it to one thing, one device or one application at once. So our live feed for the video will be on that YouTube link right there.
It's the energy to discuss. At least the
really nice.
habits in it.
This thing is like, the way they work is like so different.
Vegetation.
Like they're,
Fuels.
one of the top guys in Robinson is playing with us. So you never know about the siren. And you show him the pictures, he's like, wow.
Scores on.
So we got lucky they did this like this comes out on singing over. Like, go work in some more.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's all.
She was
Our man,
there.
because they had a short window. The guy wanted to go back for the evening function.
Yeah.
So they never like extend.
Yeah.
So the once in a lifetime.
But yeah, Rachel, like she enjoyed it too. Rachel had a good time with her and Saul.
Rachel was like, we're not here. I going.
Yeah.
She said, I'm here.
She was.
I'll go restaurant.
Yeah.
visual confirm. Did you guys see the slideshow? Fantastic.
No, that one. That's fine. Yeah.
Done up. All right, final test for Kelly, testing the transcription. Coming up. So Jennifer's about 3 minutes old. Just wait. Start speaking up. Then, only change to it says same as
So you ready for Christmas?
putting your screen.
Wait, we just had Halloween.
Right.
Come on. I'm getting rid of my Halloween candy first. Should have brought it.
I just went to Target the other day and already all the Christmas and Home Depot, all the Christmas.
I know.
decorations. Like, Jesus.
Did we miss
Right?
Thanksgiving? I think they waited until the day after Thanksgiving. Black
Before,
Friday?
Yeah, not anymore.
Oh, man. Are you ready?
I'm never ready. I just follow my wife's lead. Once it hits November, yeah, charge. I'm ready to be.
That's a cop out.
I know.
Yes. I know, that's what you just said. And he was like, oh, that's wrong. I was like, I guess you guys tell us then. He said that he made that one incorrectly, the slide. But I always thought it was 10 too.
My appointments. Hi, Glinda. How are you?
Fine. How are you doing, Mona? What's it like on your side of the island?
Yeah, moving forward. Lots of stuff going on.
Weather-wise, are you guys dry or wet?
Oh, we rained all day yesterday, day before. It wet. It's a nice day though.
Of course, and we're inside.
Yeah. How about you?
It was very rainy during, I guess, Tuesday. But yesterday was okay, and today's even better. It's beautiful, although we got a lot of wind.
Yeah, yesterday I was walking on my grass in the backyard. Super
Squishy.
super squishy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, got a lot.
Today we have a lot of wind, and we don't have a wind advisory, but there's a lot of wind, and so we've got a lot of branches that were down.
Oh, well.
Oh, yeah. How is it on the Big Island?
No, I'm here, so.
Good. You're here.
I'm stashed out in the bunker.
Why?
John, you coming out, I heard?
December, we're trying to, yeah.
When?
The 12th, I think, December, yeah.
I won't be there. Speaking in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, nice.
That would be warm.
Wow, on,
Disaster.
oh, yeah?
Resilience.
Awesome, wow. How long is that for? Is it at a conference?
At their national conference, yeah.
Oh, terrific.
I'll miss your.
Wow. Because I know there's still in November 14th, the neighborhood watch, neighborhood board meetings. Thought you mentioned November and, oh, is it tonight?
Yeah.
What, you have another thing to
Yeah.
go to today?
No, so we're planning on going out to Holland in December, and so, yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah, good. I hope you to do the notary.
Yeah.
Wait, so you're gonna be speaking at the neighborhood
No, prior.
right before it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Yeah, tomorrow we have the lieutenant governor coming.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Exciting. Yeah, a lot of things going on.
Grand shaker.
Right?
Make- Phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
We've been reaching out and we've been keeping in touch. But a lot of it is
she just has questions and good things, want to know what's going on. And
She's really good at that.
Yeah.
Following up, she's really good. And she's a really good grant writer. So
oh, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. Oh, I guess so. With all the projects, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
she gets all. I don't think she usually doesn't. Except for one.
Wow, really? I don't know what did she? She's retired.
She retired. She was working at UH as forget in what capacity.
Okay.
I think she might have wrote grants for them too. So she has a lot of experience.
Are you familiar with Thor Kamaka'ala? Thor Kamaka'ala?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's out in Ka'ava. Yeah, I just connected with him. But anyway, he speaks well of Haula, and
Yeah, it's
he used to run operations at Pulo Ranch,
where.
but he lives in Ka'ava.
Okay. Oh,
Hey, Daryl.
I am.
Chief. Hey, so we'll get started.
Give you a room.
Yeah, so DM's here. I know you're online. Who else is online? Okay. Perfect. So yeah, we can get started. We'll start it. Nathan, can you guys bring up the camera? We'll start with swearing in our newest member. Reassign. So if you come to the council. Oh. Yeah, don't. Raise your right hand. I state your full name.
I, Glenda Story,
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
do solemnly swear to defend
The
the
Constitution.
Constitution of the United States,
And the Constitution of the State of Hawaii.
the Constitution of the State of Hawaii,
That I will faithfully discharge
that I will discharge
my duties as a member
duties as
of the Hawaii Advisory Council on Emergency Management
of the Hawaii Council, Hawaii Advisory Council on Emergency
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank
newest
you.
member.
Rabbit ears behind him.
Good?
I was like, what does he?
We can go back to the. Thank you. All right, Chief, we've got everybody on our end. All right, Chief, thanks. Major General Logan couldn't make it today. They're in Pacific Air Force Commanders Conference this week. So they're both tagged the end of the day, bring it to the next one. Brigadier General Mallory as a deputy adjutant general. So at the end of this, we'll talk about 2025 dates, and we think it's cleared with his schedule, so he should be attending in 2025. As far as opening remarks, we look forward to the reports and the discussion today. Chief, we got the minutes that we want to approve from last meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the July 11, 2024.
I'll second.
All right, we got a second, Chief, in the room. Sorry, let's go back to, we got seconded to approve the minutes. So all in favor to approve the minutes of July 11th, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, so the minutes were approved. Darrell, we'll send it for signature. Okay. All right, Darrell, we're ready for council member reports.
Sure. From the north. Or the north. Okay. We have a couple of concerns about the statewide wireless interoperability coordinator position that has not been filled, and therefore there haven't been any meetings for almost a year now. And with the wildfires and everything that we have been experiencing, as well as Maui and the other places, we think that that kind of coordination, statewide coordination, might be something that we could benefit from, to share lessons learned. And I'm wondering, where is that books in terms of being someone being hired or appointed to that position?
To assist with that, it's no longer under DOD. It's been transferred to DLE, Department of Law Enforcement.
I gotta follow up with
And the other thing that, the hazard mitigation grant program, it's an opportunity for a lot of us to get needed work done, but the 25% match creates a problem for a lot of us. And apparently there is a bill that's pending or has been rejected once, but is pending, sponsored by Nadine Nakamura. And we're wondering what the status of that is. It has a funding of 20 point something million that we think might be useful as a match for us, but we're not sure. So just wondering about that.
So I'm not tracking Nakamura's bill, but we do have an update on our legislative proposal. And one of them we've already talked to Chair Wokai and Chair Chiyama about a TAT tax, increase in TAT. And so we'll update. I have to us at the end. So we're all looking at possible ways to provide some kind of matching to the counties. But I wasn't tracking Nakamura's.
Elton has more information. Yeah, Elton has more information on that.
Okay.
One of the problems I think we all have on all the islands is that there's only one entry and one exit point to many places in Hawaii or on our island, especially in Kauai. And when we had the wildfires in Hanapepe and that went to Kamakani, we had to close the road. So people on the west side were completely cut off from people on the east side or the rest of the island. It appears that a lot of the different islands have the same kinds of problems, whether that's Lahaina or Hana. And the question becomes one, can the state at Haima do like a statewide coordination, some of the larger landowners so that we can look at different kinds of access points to some of their cane haul roads and with sort of like an easement uh, uh, agreement or something like that. But if it's more statewide, then I think that it has more clout, if you will, than if it were done individually. Elton has found Bill.
Yeah, I'll forward to you.
And the last thing is that you know that Elton has been going up and down to Oregon quite a bit. And Oregon is also a place where they have a lot of wildfires. And they have a slightly different way of alerting people about wildfire possibilities or dangers. And I think I'm going to let Elton talk to you more about that because I think that that's something he's very familiar with. But it's something I think that we could utilize here in Hawaii. So I'm just going to leave that up to Elton. He can either discuss it now or later to his update. But those were the four things that kind of came up in Kauai that I think we would like some support on.
Then I took note of all with Office of Homeland Security.
Okay.
And we're tracking hazard mitigation grant. For us to look at statewide coordination as far as evacuation, private, looking at the land.
Because at this point, our notifications for like tsunami or hurricane give a lot of lead time. But when you have wildfires and the kinds of winds that we've been having, that makes it a little bit more difficult or more challenging. So if there's some way that we can do that, a statewide coordination, that would be, whether that's a different kind of system of alerting people, that might be useful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Suggestion to consider that it be a statewide agreement with many of these landowners so that we can have something that's more like a statewide agreement rather than an individual one. I think it gives it a little bit more meat and a little bit more bite to getting things done.
Oh, we've been really busy on our side of the island. For example, we have a meeting coming up on, going to talk about how we're going to operate the Starlinks that we just got for our 5 communities. Dottie was able to get a grant. Dottie Kelly Paddock able to get a grant. We have 5 Starlink systems that we've purchased, and 1 will go in each community. One per community, to be used only during disasters when the communications are down. So we're meeting soon to talk about what the SOP is going to look like for activating those Starlinks, because we feel that we could be very isolated on our side of the island. Other efforts continue, planning for the Resilience Hub. We're in the process of, Dottie is in the process of writing a grant for the EPA while juggling and managing many other grants. So we're really trying to formalize ourselves into a solid solid body to be able to manage that's coming in and out for the project, the Resilience Hub project. See, in other news, I was actually wondering, Daryl, maybe you can help, I don't know. The action items that come out of each, are we tracking those? Are we making sure that they're actually being followed through with? Is there like a system that we're using to track action items?
Yeah,
Anyone?
sure, Darrell. You guys create something. Sure.
Okay, I appreciate that. And the last thing, John, thank you for coming out next month. We look forward to that, even though I won't be there. The community, I'm sure, will benefit, and that's all I have. Any questions?
Right.
Hey, Chief, I have a question for Jerry. Jerry, is that with Olelo? Okay.
Good morning. Maui's still been mostly working with wildfire mitigation and both on a community level and then on a whole county-wide level. One good actionable thing that I think that maybe we can all look at is one of our councils, a Paia council member got together with the Paia Firehouse recently and did a community familiarization for the Paia community of updated evacuation routes. So exactly kind of what we were just talking about, because landowners change, the components of properties change, and gates go up, come down. And to put a new familiarization together for that community took some really good steps. I would definitely, if you've got any council members in your own areas that are kind of actively engaged like that, to have them do kind of a day like that as well. Let's see. Last time we were here in July, it was the very first day of what turned out to be a month-long fire on Crater Road, which had some challenges that the fire department had to face that were unique, but it's also some challenges that you can find in just about any island. The fire itself was so far up the mountain and in such a rural area, such a remote area, that there wasn't any access to water. So they had to shuttle tankers all the way back down Crater Road to a hydrant, fill up the tanker, drive it back up, fill up pumpkins, and then just run 5 helicopters at a time for almost 3 weeks to try to put that fire out. And it was only a 500-acre fire, but it took us 3 weeks to put it out because of that. There are other solutions being discussed for that type of fire. Some of them are different types of attachments to shuttle water to more remote areas, not just along the roadway, which would be what the tankers would be able to handle, but also that those wildland crews that have dragged the hose, a quarter mile up the hill, how to get them water as well. So those are some new challenges that we were facing and finding a few very interesting solutions for. On August 24th, we had a red flag warning day, and it was the first time that Maui Fire Department upstaffed in response to a red flag warning. So we had 2 additional engines and an additional tanker that day, and luckily nothing came of it, so everybody stood right back down. Some other great progress is being done with the Alert West program. That is a statewide program that Hawaiian Electric is standing up for putting cameras. Right now there's about 80 cameras across the state that anyone can access to see what the site conditions are along the transmission lines in the state. There are 15 on Maui. Some of our most problematic areas, usually the drier areas. And then it's a really interesting program. FAA is also able to add their own cameras into it as well. So now there's more access points. And then the entire program is maintained 24/7, actually over in, one of the colleges over in California, they monitor it 24/7. And then if there is any type of suspicious environmental condition, they'll monitor and alert. The counties can also monitor on their own. HECO is monitoring on its own. It's also got an AI program that is continuously learning the conditions of each camera so that it doesn't have to maintain the 24/7 eyes on as well. It's also learning its own monitoring system. MEMA's been upstaffing and expanding, and we're going to be moving into some new facilities next year, which is exciting, but there have been some pretty good staffing challenges to overcome and some complicated procedures to go through that I know it's more of an aimless conversation. Otherwise, that's everything I've got.
Can I ask a question about the crater fire? Do you know, has there been a determination as to what started that fire?
It was the location of it, where it started was over by a hunter's cabin. It's on ranch land. So it's a ranch-owned cabin on Haleakala Ranch land. Human started, I don't quite know if it was from just either a cigarette or a camping fire, but it started right there.
Is anyone having any problems with, I don't want to say vandalism, but I guess arson or vandalism on any of the islands? Does that seem to
We
be
have
something that,
a distinct issue with fires starting and next to homeless encampments. So
yeah,
not really
with the homeless encampments?
vandalism, more just whether it's from cooking fires, cigarettes, or stolen cars that are then lit on fire. Those are our three in regards to that realm.
Is that going to be a problem with, all right, there are homeless encampments and they do have cars, and some of these cars may be electric cars, and if they can't, you can't put out the fires on an electric car, does that pose an additional problem to all of this? Especially in remote areas, and Kauai has a lot of remote areas, just as Maui has.
I don't know that we've come across electric car fire related to an encampment. And we definitely hear about it because it would take forever to put out.
Right.
But I know that the unofficial way to handle a fire like that with the electric vehicles is to mostly just contain the fire, not work too hard to extinguish it, especially in remote areas. Tankers don't carry enough water to put it out.
And the terrain is so bad.
I think in our area is the homeless, like right along with all the greater huge camp, breakfast time, dinner time. Sorry. Even on the front side, the afternoon, the greater, it's homeless camps that are.
There's no way to control that kind of thing. It's setting up water barrels or anything like that.
Yeah. And one of the things we're kind of talking about up here, when we go into a heavy drought, and really dry,
Yes.
perhaps going to the government and saying, hey, there's some steps that we gotta enforce as far as.
So I can talk to that in my portion of some of the things we're looking at, but unless you want to talk about it now. So like for Kauai, Glenda referenced, I make trips to Oregon because I have property in Oregon, sizable property. So we're subject to all of these rules for fire season. Oregon, half the year is wet, half the year is dry. But during fire season, even at the lowest level of risk, there are certain restrictions and activities you can and cannot do for certain times of the day that you can. It goes from low, medium, high, and extreme. They have restrictions for both the general public and for industrial. And some are just common sense things like no cutting, welding, burning, heavy machinery that could cause sparks during certain times. And then you have a complete ban at the highest risk level. And then even when it is allowed, a 1 hour fire watch or have an on-scene fire suppression capability. Now for Hawaii, that's hard because we don't really have a true fire season, but we do have fire weather watch and red flag warning conditions. And too bad Talmadge isn't here, but gotta sing Big Island's praises because the last red flag warning, if you guys heard, their mayoral emergency proclamation included emergency rules that restricted certain activities. So right now, that's our means to have this no burning, no cutting, grinding, welding in wildland, urban interface, and things like that. Our only means is by emergency proclamation and emergency rule. But if through legislative action, we could create common sense rules that fall into place with a trigger, such as fire weather watch or red flag warning, that would be something statewide. And then the mayors and the governor don't need need to scramble the issue properly.
As far as this, put something together. Maybe that's part of our legislative.
I brought it up with HWMO, and then also with your wildfire mitigation stage, right? So we'll continue working.
That's all I got from Maui.
Any questions for Lisa?
Thank you.
No, sir. Sorry, no.
Is there any way we can get their faces so we can actually look at them with talking?
We're gonna do this is
So we need to have that slide up?
Well, not this slide. What do you want to pull?
Well, just so they're more a part of the meeting, the actual participants online.
Can you make a small? Oh. No, but that's not that. Let's see that. Let's see us.
We can
There you
see
go.
each other.
Yay.
Okay, Daryl.
Thank you.
Yeah, Daryl, sorry, I owe you a written response to your email. But, no, that's right. Actually, 127 and 9, I think, makes a lot of these personnel just immune from civil liability as a matter of law. So it's a matter of documenting that they were actually playing a role in responding to the emergency. And it's been done in different ways. Um, So for example, in the wildfire emergency proclamation, for healthcare providers, the governor has rules that spell out how the healthcare providers get that immunity. There's also statements in the proclamation, kind of restating that principle. But yeah, I can work with everyone like, moving forward if you want to standardize it. That would probably be really helpful.
Would it be possible to put something in there about food service or something like that? Because we have a lot of, when they closed that road during the Hanapepe fires, uh, the Kauai Veterans Memorial Hospital in Waimea was providing sandwiches and meals and drinks because there was no other place to go. And had that gone on longer, they would have provided more. But it occurred to me at some point in time that if anybody had gotten sick from anything or an allergic reaction, we would have been in trouble there.
So, Daryl and Craig, I'd be interested in, if you like, engaging with you folks on Kauai's experience with 127A and 9. Um, just right off the top of my head, really quickly, we run into issues where legally on the county end, we're cautious in that if state or county officials accept services of volunteers, they become our employees, our liability and responsibility. So historically, we have channeled them through our private partners like nonprofits and avoid organizations, and they go under that umbrella. But at the same time, it's interesting to me as far as applying it in terms of their protections from civil
right.
liability. So I'd be interested in being involved, and I can share what we experienced in prior events.
I have, is there a state BOAD coordinator?
Yes.
And then, so are they coordinating, anything that we've just been talking about?
So our state Val is on as an advisor with the VOAD, the Hawaii VOAD. Yeah, so he works with the chair. At this time, it's Matt Glide. So we work closely with Matt and the team. Yeah.
Are they tackling this issue or?
So yeah. As we just activated our Val with the Maui response, and so as the recovery continues, we are still working to identify what are some of the challenges and how do we have to align and make sure that from the state level, we're working in accordance with the VOAD as well as our needs and how we support nonprofits. Yeah.
But that works primarily when you have a longer term thing. If you have an emergency like a wildfire and you're cut off, it's pretty difficult to do all that coordination. It's just easier to sometimes just provide the services because the services are needed at that time. But then do we put these organizations that are really good Samaritans at risk? And so I think this effort to indemnify on a statewide basis, so you don't even have to worry about doing it. You can just respond immediately. It was the Kamakani fire was just so fast, and it went over the road so quickly that the coordination was really not, I don't think, an opportunity or an option at that point.
So let's say American Red Cross, they did peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on their own. Would they be covered under 127? If they did it on their own, not coordinating with the county or the state,
Right.
just went out and said, "Hey, we're going to give up peanut butter and jelly sandwich." Or we're talking about something that has a nexus back to the county and the state effort. So, we would be.
Well, the one in, sorry, the one in Kamakani, it started um, at about 5 o'clock. There were all these people who were in the shelters, and Kauai is a very small community, especially on the west side. They're very tight. And it was dinner time, and they couldn't go anywhere. We don't have very many restaurants or anything like that on the west side. So the hospital, which has a cafeteria, made sandwiches. Or the CEO, Lance Segawa, just made a decision. They were going to feed whomever was at the shelters. And I never even thought about indemnification or anything like that and liability. They made sandwiches and gave water and whatever else they had there. But it was a very short term kind of thing because the roads opened up at about 2 in the morning, so they could all go home. But in the meantime, people and kids had to be fed. Some of them couldn't go home to their families.
So that 12789 is,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think that's a great. Yeah, I think that's a really great point, Daryl. And I guess we don't think about that all the time. We think about just helping, and afterwards we deal with the aftermath. Yeah.
Chief, talking with Craig, I think with the conversation with you and Elton and whoever wants to be involved in it, and then, having some, like a policy memo, kind of clarifying our discussions as far as 127.9. So we'll look at.
Okay, for County of Kauai, our past several months, actually immediately following the last HASM meeting, uh, started, we had a considerable activity in the EOC. So as Glenda and I were trying to get home that day, the last HASM meeting, fire broke out in Kokee, and at first our fire department and DOFA was concerned, so they were initially going to request military air support. So um, at the time, General Hara had contacted us as we were transiting to the airport, and they were going to spin up that asset. As we were flying home, it was determined that air support would not be needed. However, they were already ready to go, and then we had a helicopter crash reported by satellite phone text message off the Napali. And that resulted in a multi-day, multi-agency Coast Guard, at first, Hawaii National Guard, because the helicopter came, and Ocean Safety, Kauai Fire Department search. And ultimately, they did not, they recovered one victim and not the others, and, you know, parts of the fuselage. So that became a multi-day event. Soon after that, we had the AAR for that, and then the Hanapepe Kamakani fire broke out, which was a, you guys probably saw it on the media. It was a huge thing, and we almost lost that town, but through combined efforts of county, state, federal, and private sector partners, National Guard played a big role with the Chinook and the Black Hawk Chinook and Black Hawk being able to drop as much water as those aircraft are capable of doing. Big game changers for us. Um, we had another large fire in a Kokee area between Waimea Canyon Drive and Kokee Road, and another one in Wainiha. So we had a quite active fire season with many of the difficulties noted by others. With oftentimes with us, Kauai is a small island. We have more rivers and reservoirs than others, so water supply isn't always as much of an issue. But access and private roads or where roads no longer exist because it's all fallow fields that are no longer cultivated. We have those challenges. So, but knock on wood, the multi-agency coordination and support from all the partners has been great. But we're trying to constantly make improvements. We did talk a little bit about studying other jurisdictions. So I'm looking at, and then I'll try to summarize later and report statewide on some of the products that we're seeing. Before Hero left, he was showing me some of the California products. And I was looking at Oregon, and we really like their Ready, Set, Go messaging and some of the content of that message. For example, at the Ready phase, they may include language like persons with special medical or ambulatory needs consider leaving now, even at the Ready. And then another thing that Oregon adds is at Set, they say, if you feel uncomfortable, leave now. This may be the final warning you receive. I mean, they just put that in there as a disclaimer because lines can go down, telecom can fail by the time you get to go. So interesting stuff that we've been studying in the aftermath of our active fire season. We reported on stuff earlier, and I'll just wrap up on those about the partnership with the Innovative Readiness Training Program. So we did have that second round of plan updates and BARA assessments. So we've completed those missions with our military partners, but internally we're still crunching numbers and finalizing some of those documents. So we'll have that done soon. Still following up on the April severe weather event on Kauai with the FEMA follow-ups on PA. We talked a little bit about telecom. Glenda had brought up about the statewide, the wireless interoperability coordinator and the former the skip meetings that haven't been held in a while. But we're still progressing on our island, telecom wise, but we do have challenges. Ongoing coverage issues on the extreme North Shore, community opposition to the FirstNet tower that's planned. So we'll see how that'll go. During that Ali helicopter search and rescue, we did have to set up special repeaters, satellite package, what have you, to try to enhance comms in the area. And I can tell you for that Wainiha fire, although we did not need to do community evacuations, if we had to, there was no cell service in the valley. So everything would have been by landline phone. We have one siren in the area, but very limited ability to warn the public, especially by one of our most powerful means, the wireless emergency alerts to the cell phones. So, we're looking at ways to improve, but community is opposed to cellular technology out there. Talked about our reserve corps before, where we have a seasoned but retired personnel we bring back on 89-day contract standby. It's based on the 127A section for HYEMA's reserve corps. We require them to have a minimum 40 hours per year, training, exercise, what have you, but we just make sure they're up to date on their ICS training. And we send them through the basic 0305, which is all hazards incident management team training. But we filled 3 of the 5 positions, so we're working on 1 more right now. And then hopefully we can get the 5th one filled in the near future. But we do have 2 of our incident management team folks who are being trained by some of the in-state resources, so that with this upcoming DEM hosted 0305 class, 2 of our Kauai personnel who have passed the train the trainer will be teaching in part that class, Jennifer, and then they'll be certified to do the classes themselves on Kauai. So that is great for us. It's huge. So thank you very much for that. We concluded our collaborative technical assistance program for dam safety with FEMA and DLNR. We just wrapped that program up for this year. So really great benefits to our local dam operators, state, county, and other partners on island. And I'll give you guys one really historic good news item. Many, many years in the making, it got stalled by the pandemic and the supply chain issues. But EXO, Don Avial, he got to go to Niihau last week on the Blackhawk with General Logan, and dedicated the first outdoor warning siren on Niihau. Multiple agencies and made it happen. Satellite activated, and that thing is up and running now. So our very isolated Native Hawaiian community out there on Niihau has a means of the early warning where they currently lack cell phone and other technologies. So mahalo HYEMA, mahalo General Logan, who's not here today. And that's it for me.
And we got it to work too.
Yep.
On the P one, the SEO call, he said.
Yeah.
So I talked to Curtis last night. He said that there's 5 of them still open. So they're gonna try to close it out.
All right.
Any questions for Elton?
Hi, it's nice to meet everybody. I wish Hiro were still here. You're stuck with me. At DM, we're trying to staff up. No movement yet on the director position that go through the civil service process, but I brought Ian today. He just joined us yesterday from, he was working at the South Carolina Emergency Management Agency and is taking one of our staff officer positions. So new to the state, that it would be your facilities here, and we have a new training and exercise starting. So we're slowly getting there. Few big things underway with the hazard mitigation plan update. We had a really short timeline for this. It's due in February. And so we're at the outreach phase now. We're doing webinars every other week in terms of hazards. And one of the things that we've done that's been kind of interesting is trying to do focus groups rather than just go out and do general outreach. We did a focus group with all the federally qualified health centers, which is really interesting about the populations they serve and their understanding of hazards and their own readiness. We're doing one with the Pacific Islander Ministers group that came around during COVID next week to kind of get their thoughts, like how we could better outreach that population. And we're going to do senior service providers. So it's been an interesting conversation, and I kind of like the approach. Our hope is it might not lead to hazard mitigation projects, but ongoing partnerships with these groups that we're not kind of engaged with enough. For hazard planning, a couple of things. One with wet season, we've had 2 storms, and the last one we didn't even go in a warning, and we're having a lot of rescues, and I think it's people living along the streams and the canals, the houseless population. So we generally work with Partners in Care, which is a kind of collaboration of all the different providers. So I reached out to them to see if we could talk about this because it's happening when there's just heavy rain. We might not even be activated. And so I'm not sure if there's more people there or it's just happened these times, last couple times. For wildfire, we've established the county level working group, I guess reestablished. Big Island has one. One thing that came up in the meeting that's kind of for the good of the order is they were interested in having the state relook at the air operations annex that was published previously about coordination of air assets for a fire. They're really concerned that they don't have capability to have an air boss at the local fire department level. And if we start bringing in other air assets, whether it's LNR, I know they're really limited, but contractor or in Coast Guard or the Chinook like that, someone coordinating all this as well as drones. And so they were, I think, looking at that old plan that had kind of the National Guard playing a role and just wanted to know or could re-engage about that support to the counties that might be available for air boss. And so we've also just been working internally on fleshing out some evacuation procedures for wildfire. One of the things we've noticed is no one's fault, really good conversation, is that sometimes the fire department is calling for an evacuation because they go and they see the fire and it's not that big a deal to them. But the police get on scene and see the same thing and they're like, oh no, everybody get out. And that's caused some confusion about whether or not there's an evacuation. They've established some procedures doing AARs from some of our smaller events to be really clear. Police still has the authority to do that if they're uncomfortable, but to make sure that gets relayed because we've had two different things communicated to us, evacuation, no evacuation. So they're working through that and it's been really positive conversation. Last couple things, we've been working on evacuation routes, came up earlier. We're trying to re-engage some efforts we had on the North Shore to do agreements with private landowners to open up during tsunami. I would love to see something at the state effort because it's been really slow going, but we've pointed out, I forget what the statute is, that letting people on indemnify against any kind of thing that may happen. We've also inserted language to try to entice them about having our Department of Facility Maintenance come behind and help with cleanup, assuming people might leave stuff behind. So we're just trying to still work through that. And then there's a couple other more specifically for wildfire. Last two things are trying to come up with a prioritized list. We're going to do more of the BARA assessments that Elton talked about earlier. We're trying to expand. Thank you, James, for helping us make contact with some UH facilities. Also, we're going to try to look at some privately owned facilities like the Kroc Center for Salvation Army, any nonprofits that have bigger facilities for hurricane. We're trying to also expand. We kind of fell into some money, which doesn't happen often. We're trying to do a whole bunch more. And then we just started up a feed task force at the county level to try to work through some of the distribution stuff. That with our first meeting, that was positive. And I think that's about it. There's a few more things, but I've talked enough. Any questions? Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're contracting with Tetra Tech. They're also doing the Big Island plan too, and they did the state plan. So it's been kind of helpful to build.
I have,
Yeah.
so hello everybody. So staffing wise, the struggle we've been having in moving work forward, as you all may know, all the senior people cannot physical after the fire. So we're trying to reestablish the agency without any kind of historical or leadership in place. It's super challenging, but currently we had moved the agency from we moved it from 9 to 12. We have 22 approved. I got 10 more to go. Um, we have been I've been actively recruiting outside of the DPS process, which has gone well. There's actually a lot of people wanting to work for me. The current DPS process of posting doesn't work. You just civil defense, nobody knows what that is. CD specialist, blah blah. And we've been in conversation with DPS on how to change that. They will. Um, they've been disqualifying all my candidates. It's been another thing that we since hopefully resolved as of last week. But I did get a HANA specialist. So there's three kind of isolated community specialists, HANA, Molokai, and Lanai. We're able to fill HANA, which has been huge for HANA or East Maui. We had a logs technician that we got hired. That's through the state workforce project. That was an intern that came and worked with us that we got on the job through the state workforce project. He was pursuing police. His whole career thing is changing to currency management, and he's a super, super great kid. Hopefully, we get him staffed up in FY26. We did find a training specialist. He starts December 2nd. We have an info and education specialist or PIO, one of three comms people in the agency that's approved. That is also through the state workforce project. We've had to do different workarounds because our services has been problematic. We're finally getting progress and understanding. And so we did hire an administrative assistant too that just started a couple of days ago. That's going well. We had a meeting with DPS and prioritized our recruitment to begin with a GIS analyst, which is also approved, a public affairs officer, which is also approved, getting a hazard mitigation specialist through the county is also in movement, and then getting our executive officer position established. The next phase of this whole reorg is to reallocate all of our section chiefs to competitive pay, right, to entry level or SR26. For FY26, we're going in for 3 branch specialists and a reserve 4 services branch specialist, critical infrastructure, and emergency services branch specialist. We are developing our IMT as well. We're going to exercise the IMT at the Maui Invitational Tournament. We're going to exercise the EOC at the the IMT or the MIT during that time. Once again, just trying to build all our roster and train and exercise, coordinate with the EOC and go through all of those concerns that I don't think we've ever been able to do. I was a part of the initial effort with the fire department, but we weren't ever able to bridge the EOC with IMT in the past. So we are consulting with Tetra Tech. Tetra Tech is one of our consultants, and they're helping us to develop and update various plans, include our HMP update, which is due August 2025, our SEM, integrated preparedness plans, and training plans, as well as various annexes. We did procure evacuation software. It's Genesis evac and Ladris AI. Right now, we procured it in October 16th. We just had a kickoff meeting October 29th. Press release went out November 1st. They have an algorithm that they go through to identify the zones. It includes the various threats as well as the primary arteries and population densities. So Genesis is going through that right now. They kick that back to the county, we modify or look at, review, so on and so forth. We decide, we confirm what the zones are, we train the partners. We are pursuing an education campaign, and optimistically, we go online January 1st. That would be the goal. As part of that kind of evacuation planning group, coordinating group, includes the Department of Planning, Public Works, NPD, Fire, and NEMA. We all have licenses to utilize the evacuation modeling in our departments. For obviously NEMA, we're using it. We're gonna currently manage the keyboard or manage the site, the public facing site, where the public can go in and look at what the status is, using ready, set, go, and those kinds of communications to that platform. It will hopefully the goal would be to model the whole community, whole county of Maui, provide evacuation, prioritization as far as projects are concerned. That could be DPW, and the county's got to go find money based on what those priorities are and those hazards and risks. That would be the goal. And working with planning and DPW and fire and police to really figure that out. The modeling software we exercise is pretty great. And we're pretty excited to get moving on it. MEMA, because of the wildfires, is going through an after action report. We contracted AC Disaster. We went through this kind of long, problematic RFP process where our initial contractor was stepped out. And now we have to go back in and get the second vendor, contractor, and AC Disaster regarding after actions has been phenomenal. So if you guys are looking for that kind of work, AC Disaster has been really, really great. Yeah, they were given a 10-week turnaround. That was administration's desire, and so they're going to meet the 10-week turnaround. It puts us with the final report December 2nd. All the initial interviews have been completed. We have a corrective action planning meeting with all of the main partners November 13th. So not only is it identifying the gaps, providing recommendations, but it also includes actually corrective action to the report that we're conducting on November 13th to be built in, folded in for the final on December 2nd. Lahaina operations is NEMA still manages the checkpoints. The checkpoints or footprint has been reduced to Lahaina Luna Road, Kilauea Moka, and Lahaina Town. Lahaina Kilauea Moka, which is Lahaina Luna Road, is soon to open. There was a engineering thing that was with the smokestack that was undetermined on the structural integrity of that particular stack. The reports have just recently came in and saying that the thing is good to go. So we're going to open up Lahaina Luna Road and press release to follow. In the whole operation with Lahaina, we've had tremendous feedback from the community related to building supply theft. And so, initially it was open up the zones. As we started to get to open up the zones, that was definitely our goal. The community pivoted and said, hey, don't open up the zones. Keep things closed. We want you to have security checkpoints in place, protect all of our supplies. And, obviously couldn't do that. There was no public safety concerns in those areas. We could not restrict access to the community. Police got involved. The watches were implemented with the communities. The issues related to theft and or any kind of issue with the community with the Neighbor Watch program in place has been very, very, very. So the risk that the potential of the community saw has been resolved. No, has been minimized. There's still people that want checkpoints because they kind of want nobody to go into their areas and stuff like that. You'd have to investigate all kinds of different things, but basically the reports coming back from police and our security detail has been super, super reduced. We had a PSPS kind of incident with the red flag. And the short story is that kind of working through with people in the room, how they determine PSPS and how that all works. And there's some work for us to do. They said, we're going to shut it down 13 minutes. That wasn't part of the conversation, and they never shut it down. So we messaged out, we supported, amplified Nico's message. Everybody on the west side went into action, and take kids to school, close businesses, so on and so forth. And Nico never closed, never shut it down. We had a meeting about that. In short, not really resolved. But us moving forward, it's kind of changed the way we're gonna activate how we decide what we do about it. So regarding wildfire, we had since the last meeting, we had multiple wildfire concerns. A lot of areas in Maui next to residential areas that were evacuated door to door multiple times. And so one of those times we considered using the siren. So related to that, we called police and fire into the room, and we've been experiencing problems regarding coming into the EOC. We had a meeting yesterday with police, fire, and mayor, and we kind of hashed the thing out. In short, the police and fire doesn't. They're more focused on their job versus how we message the public and the alerts and warning space. So we have to kind of reiterate. Yeah, I see. I know what you guys are doing. Maybe you're not threatened by it, but the public. And so, for us to be able to do that, you guys got to come in the EOC or find a way to get information. In short, there's no information, and everybody's waiting. It's very easy to do. So let's figure out a way. So one of the topics in that meeting was unified command, and the police and fire department have created some kind of a unified command cooperative training curriculum to improve how unified command works, which is cool. We're super supportive of that, and NEMA will soon be involved in that as well. Regarding the Crater Road fire, yeah, the call out for the military aircraft is critical. What's interesting about that one is I was thinking about an air boss doing that one too. We had multiple 7, 8 aircraft, military plus private, all working in the same area, all different responsibilities. And working through that, finding an air boss and everything, I talked to the pilot of the private company and said, hey, 7, 8 aircraft in the air, should we get an air boss? Basically said, that's the last thing. Eventually it turned. The incident commanders on the ground didn't need military aircraft. They needed it. Yeah, so this is conversation on understanding what unified command wants on the ground and what we can provide and how we just kind of work through and support the decision making. you're not gonna always have great decisions on the ground, basically what I'm saying. And pushing reasonable measures to protect all involved might not come from the ground. So encouragement, this, that, and whatever is basically. We did meet with a lot of our coordination groups led by Yofa and the fire chief, and we're a part of it. That hasn't been. It's been a while since they met. We met a couple of weeks ago, talking about different efforts of response and mitigation. Through that meeting, there was a request for cultural site layouts. So through our OEV resources department, they are gathering cultural sites, so response partners will know where not to go, and what to avoid, so on and so forth in their operation. That is. Regarding community preparedness, I'm waiting for my first comms person to come in, which starts on December 2nd, and then I'm going to engage in all the whole community vision, which includes HR. Super. Had a great conversation with John, and excited. We had a CERT train the trainer in August. We supported a couple team CERT programs. Talking to the different CERT program providers at the high school level, we're talking about creating a CERT competition statewide or high school, I'll county first. I think that it's a good idea to pursue CERT at the teen level versus the adult level. We're going to go see the progress at the CERT at the teen level. And we are looking to build out a structured group, cadre, to engage the community with HR, with CERT, with the teams in competition, supported by MEMA. That is all I have.
I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but you said you were having trouble getting police and fire to the EOC, meaning they're not sending reps when you're activated? Okay. Do you have, because, it's not atypical for police and fire to operate in silos, right? Before the EOC is activated, have you tried coordination calls with, say, chiefs, fire chief, saying, hey guys, should we activate? If they say yes, then they're on the hook to send people. Does that take place? And so when you decide to activate with those two agencies, they still don't send people to the EOC?
So they have opinions on it. In short, I hope that it's just an ignorance piece where you don't know what we do, you don't know what we're responsible for.
Yeah.
And hopefully that meeting we had yesterday with the mayor and mayor's guidance provided the enlightenment that is required. I think left the meeting, it was a good ending. They wanted to know what the triggers were. And so basically the short story and the trigger is that when I think that we need ongoing coordination, because something is moving directly threatening the community, we'll call you in. And they look at it from the perspective of their role in the operation versus the overall conclusion of the operation. The road is closed. Why do you leave? Well, because things could change. The road closure is dependent on the evacuation routes and how we best use it to confirm what that is.
Sounds like a really desperate education problem, training problem. Yeah, and it's so painful to hear. Having gone through it and gone through to the other side myself, been through it, it's just painful. It's like I'm reliving drama.
Hopefully we we are going in the right direction. It feels like it, but we have to go through that meeting yesterday where we discussed it. Um, and they didn't agree initially.
And do you have, last follow-up for that piece, do you have codified triggers for activating the EOC? And who can actually activate it? Can a police chief or a fire chief activate your EOC?
Yeah, if they can recommend that, hey, this is well, we expect the partners to also look at. So activation is generated for me. I'll activate the EOC anytime there's a need for coordination, ongoing coordination of a particular threat.
At different levels.
At different. Any one of the partners can call me, hey, we got an issue over here that I'm gonna need support.
Okay.
They call me and we'll activate support of that. So does that answer that question?
Yeah, so I feel like with that piece in place, there should be a little bit more buy-in from those two agencies. But it sounds like there's still not. So it's just really a real big gap in.
I think it's just very well could be an ignorance piece. I mean, we're comparing what used to be done to what is done, and really finding a way through that. I agree with you.
I mean, after everything that happened, you would think at this point, people would be more open and willing to say, whatever we did not work. Let's do this now.
One of the things that I found in talking, I can't say that it's the same thing with reluctance, but like one of the conversations we had was just the need for early notice, even if you're not really concerned, which was kind of a bridge. And it kind of, like once I show them opened up the system we have to use to send EAS and kind of how time consuming that is, and then here's a separate siren system, it was kind of helped illustrate the point that like we're not like you, we're not here 24/7 and look at all these steps we have to go through to do alert and warning, and this is why we need that early notice and early coordination. If that kind of helped a little, just with kind of getting the word a little faster, but different situation kind of. But yeah, not having that back end view of some of the things is typical.
So another way that you can go if you're running into issues is to involve your counsel, county attorney, because like with Kauai County, from the very beginning, when HRS 127A does implement it, they'd studied it and worked with AG's office and provided training to our cabinet. And their opinion on the county attorney side was there's this 127A12 Part C is to the mayors. And it says order and direct all agencies, take whatever actions for emergency management. And on a day-to-day basis, under the delegation of authority section, automatic authority goes to administration for everything except to declare the emergency, to make rules, to enforce an effect of law, etc. So they gotta listen, but you make it friendly, and on the front end, you just educate them that you guys are compelled to come if you order, otherwise you're violating this.
100. I remember that. I haven't.
Pull it.
I was wondering what model you're using for your incident management team EOC integration. Are you planning on having them come into the EOC and fill position, or is this kind of like a separate team that would stand up outside the EOC?
The primary idea is within the reserve or funds depends on complexity, duration of incident. There will be inside or outside, but the goal is outside.
And then that IMAT team, is it comprised of just people from off or people from police and fire countywide? Okay. So that IMAT team, would they run the IC in the field, or?
So we will delegate authority down to the team, or the mayor will delegate authority down to the team. Now, finding our way through that is,
And then it says the mayor may.
but that is the point.
And lastly, one more thing about all those positions that you've been allocated and you're trying to fill. Do you have like really solid position, um, descriptions for each of them?
I think I did. I mean, I wrote all of them. They're taking, I guess, some of the challenges is related to what positions already exist and the specific position within the agency.
Yeah, the tailored one. Yeah.
Like a PIO versus an information and education specialist. There's some differences. A staff specialist versus an education specialist staff. I think as far as the position description reflecting the work, I think the position description that is submitted.
I worked with Matt Wire to develop the position description for requirements for the one that you're acting in now. Do you want me to share that with you for your executive one? Okay. It might be a little rigid, but you know, in my mind, these positions, you know, they have to have experience. You can't come in and just get 100% of training on the job. You got to bring stuff with you. But on the other hand, they're so hard to fill. Yeah.
Chief, you know the CERT competition. So I just had a meeting this morning with the director for civil defense of the Philippines. And one of the things that he's talking about is in the Philippines doing a civil defense Boy Scout level. So you mentioned the CERT at the teen level. I know we talked one time, you guys kind of reviving and relooking at it, redefining the CERT. So what does that look like on the teen side?
So right now, so we did. So basically, there's like these program people. I'm trying to remember the names, but there's program people that work in the DOE that have send these teams into a certain curriculum. So we support that team cert curriculum by teaching some of them how to, of course, the exercise that they when we were teaching and participating in that, we did various, you know, just kind of looking at how many kids come out to learn, what it means to the community, and maybe even the group, what kind of kids come out to certain programs. I kind of just observed and I just think that developing the teams, teaching them leadership skills, teaching them, you know, emergency disaster management, emergency management is super critical, and competing is a way to do it, because competing will allow the programs to grow within the DOE system, provides the what you call that, self-esteem piece, the leadership piece, that maybe those kinds of kids not going to experience. So so there's multiple programs right now. So the idea came up like the idea came up of what about this program, this challenge, this program. Then they said, well, it's not. Why don't we just make it a high school? Well, high school program challenge. Part of the idea was with that is personally the green helmets and the green vest is traumatic person. And so as we were kind of engaging in the conversations, it was like, what the kids like is they like sweat. Okay? So if you change the cert kind of which they've already done, the program people have already changed what they use helmets wise and have follow a certain program, sanctions it, supports it, certifies, gives them a certificate, but they changed the program. So we talked about your program having a different color, whether it's high school color, whether it's program color, there's a thing that's attached to it that means that we supported the program, we watched the program, we certified you to compete in the program, and you guys just compete with all your colors. How's that idea sound? And everybody went, oh yeah, that'd be cool. And it was more to help the kids and encourage the kids to seek emergency management, to pursue emergency management careers,
Yeah, good job.
challenge and develop their leadership skills. They're going to be the next generation in emergency management.
Yeah. And do they get community service credits?
100%.
Yeah. We're doing something similar in our area where we have a grant and we're trying to revitalize CERT. So we're tailoring it. We have a lady, she's a retired battalion chief from LAFD, and she'll be here December. And we're meeting with her to really try to make it specific to our area so that we get more people interested. But we're also trying to work with Kahuku High School and have a program there, but not on the competition level, but just trying to develop it, for them as well. So that's great. Good work.
How do you mobilize a community?
Yeah.
Do it through the children. And that's one way.
Yeah.
Right? If it's in high school competition.
Can you make it cool? You have to make it cool.
Make it cool. The parents gotta come watch.
So challenging.
Exactly.
They're coming for you. Sorry.
Good luck there. Well.
Daryl.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Daryl, it's Lisa Barr. For the fall break CERT training, did that include, if it was statewide, did that include housing the kids as well?
On that note, do you think that Haima might be interested in maybe putting in a bid for the National CERT Conference to be held in Honolulu? I mean, why not try to bring it local? Do you think it's something that, yeah?
So we have been having conversations with a program, I think it's called Pono with Nancy Oki, which is embedded under CTAR on the UH. And in fact, we had a meeting a couple of months, Amos, with Everett was a part of it, talking about the programming and because it's actually physically on Maui, on the Maui campus. So we're having those discussions on what that might look like and how the state supports an overall nation.
So you're interested in bidding for the national conference?
Well, I'm not sure about that just yet, but yeah, we have,
I feel like it would be beneficial to all of us here to have. I've spoke at that conference probably about 5-6 years ago. And I know that some people from here flew over to wherever the conference was last year. But I think if we host it, we might get more
Chief,
buy-in.
maybe Haysom can host it. So, pumped it to you guys. Because that'll be a.
I mean, you could partner, with a nonprofit
No.
together.
But yeah, we gotta socialize that more with the group that John's leading.
I remember a few years back, maybe 10 years ago, my city partnered with police and fire, and we hosted the National Homeland Security Conference, and it was a heavy lift. But I don't think the CERT conference would be as heavy as that. Yeah, and if you need help, Daryl, if you take on the challenge and you need help, just reach out to me and I'll pitch in for that one.
Hey, Chief. No more questions from Chloe. We're gonna take like a 10-minute break on our side to grab our bentos and then reconvene with Haima updates. Okay. All right. So take like 15 minutes. Grab your bentos.
I'm looking right now. Scrapping. I just gotta squeeze it. I gotta be out at K. Wow. So what time does this mean? Is this with CEO? Yeah. Okay. Okay, because I met with all of, as we were talking about it, Jerry brought it up. I met with all of the community TV partners. They're kind of like, they're not under the same funding. But yeah, they all have the same interests. Is it support that? This is about physical connectivity.
Please help yourself. There's salad and then there's a protein plate. Yourself, water. How are you doing, Jennifer? Catching up on I know.
If we want some issues within. I don't know. Challenge. Then solicitation of support and sponsorship that doesn't exist anymore. Just, so I don't know. How we treat it. Yeah, I think that was where I was leaning into that, but I think Russ is more concerned now about that kind of thing. See, and since Ryan left, I think that was his question.
So at one point we had.
Oh yeah.
And it was, everybody gave, right? And they were doing, everybody.
I don't mind. I do anything. That's how it. Yeah. But yeah, call me in for now. Call me in for tomorrow for Olelo.
Okay.
Make sure. I gotta look for this information now.
Then you will mobilize.
Kelsey's not here today.
When you're talking like that whole junior ROTC. That's a competition. Then UHROTC does this. They compete against other universities to go up to. In fact, that's what we look at.
Other clean ones, when they're doing the exercises, scenarios, they're watching. The third story is, there's so many leadership happening. Like our state.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Nice
thank
to
you.
meet
Yeah,
you.
same here, Ian.
Ian,
Yes.
you came from
South Carolina,
South
yeah.
Carolina. Okay. How are you liking it?
It's only like day 3, so far great.
So when did you get on island?
Monday night.
Well, where are you living? Like, how did you
Just
find
kind of
out?
hanging out in Waikiki right now, so
Oh, okay.
I'm looking for more permanent housing probably this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gonna look around this area or?
Yeah, I'm trying to stay close to the city, if not in the city, but
Yeah.
my car doesn't come until the 20th. Oh boy. The hot.
Wow. This is supposed to be this way.
Yeah, chainsaw?
So your car comes in, so
The
you're.
21st, 22nd, so
Oh.
yeah, I gotta wait a while.
Wow, they must have needed you like immediately?
Well, I drove across country to LA. I had family and other things to do, and then left my car at the dock and flew out that day, and it's been a lot of
Food if you want to get something.
I'm good. I left my lunch at the office, not even realizing it, so no big deal. But
So
yeah,
the transition has been a journey, kind of like
yeah, not too bad.
an adventure.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Apt metaphor for my existence over the past 20 years. So.
And how long have you been in emergency management?
Just about 3.5.
Okay.
So,
And what role are you playing?
here, infrastructure recovery and mitigation.
Okay.
Yeah. I did recovery and infrastructure at the state level in South Carolina.
Okay.
So my goal was closer to the county and city level because it seems that's where more of the action is sometimes.
I responded to one of hurricanes.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I don't so. Sure.
Got you.
Yeah.
Good spot.
Plan. Thank you so much. The main thing is you have your health.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
There's just 4 more hours of the day right now, so.
What's your biggest challenge?
I think,
Glenn, this is who we're talking about.
it is just.
Cert, this program.
Here and I kind of. Right now.
So it's embedded under 4H.
Vacancies.
The 4-H.
Yeah, UH extension programming.
Okay.
So Nancy O.
You know, and so.
So Amy said they work.
Have to do
This
it
is
all.
the only group they work.
Wow.
That's a year with
So I brought it up because Dan
coverage, and I'm worried about.
to identify how the state would
Have
support
you asked for
this effort.
So it would have to go through 4-H.
positions that?
Yeah, and in some way.
I've been focusing on.
Out of
playing what we-
city, which is in Manoa, right, mainly Manoa campus, but Nancy is as an extension at Maui College.
Oh, yeah, because Maui has a big UE
Yeah.
development, yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out from the state level. Okay, how do we support without getting too far in? The county's, connectivity, and how do we support that, right?
I don't even know if we have a 4-H under law.
That's, that's okay.
I mean, I
Oh,
was just
yeah?
thinking about that. I don't know.
The level one is constant.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's
You know if we have a 4-H on Kauai?
a challenge.
Yeah, I,
Sue.
the,
Hey.
DES
Hi, I'm Ethan.
to do.
Ethan?
Yeah, Ethan Oki. So I'm with Haima.
Oh, okay.
I'm the business leader.
Something together.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm still you guys are talking about
You're getting a lot of support.
He's the one who has the information.
even more so.
So I sent Kelly the URL for the bill that they needed.
Specific yet?
We just lost
Okay,
it.
okay. I'll have to.
Talk about
We just had it.
positions. I pulled our org chart from when the agency first started.
That hasn't passed, so.
No.
And so.
I like it.
Those are good.
Share. I think
I'm sorry, your name is?
Ben Wilder.
Ethan Oki.
You
ETH.
just don't think it's press our case.
K-I?
Like Oki's
I
dying.
just want to be thoughtful.
Yeah.
Ask.
Did you ever come to Kauai?
No, it's family.
Oh, it is.
No plan.
Oh,
I'm reluctant about
Why?
because some people like it,
Trying to kind
don't
of
like it. It's just-
plan A, B, and
it's another option. Any option on Kauai is great.
That's what I heard.
and kind of
You ever come over?
match between how I could make it.
Now I do because of Kima.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
They could get some.
No.
There's just.
I did establish a disaster relief grant special.
It's a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that.
Position
Because
classification. I'm trying to.
David kept.
Yeah.
There's kind of more generic.
That's why I told you about David and.
Right, yeah.
I mean, hazard mitigation
Hazard
forum.
mitigation.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. So you know about it. It's just.
Yeah. David contacted
Good.
us.
Okay.
Diversity and.
To me, that's a term.
Keep tracking.
I mean, I don't
The
But
THT
David
test.
Garrett put him.
care people with.
So
Yeah, it's like, we don't get the THT mill on Kauai.
we do.
They took it away from us for a while.
Oh, but they. I saw an
Okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, we would.
Maryland a few years ago.
But
You guys
the
need
interest, now she majority leader.
to add.
Said people
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another person has like a
Develop written documents or
Finance.
plans or
match that we need.
communicating.
Federal funding.
What is it?
Majority leader, right?
Transit
No, no,
accommodation.
no. What is the percentage? I'm sorry, what percentage is it now?
10%.
Really?
And then our farmer out there and he forced it.
Each county.
Taking a job as our chief of staff. I'm like, all right.
Oh, I thought we just took it from the 10%.
No.
I thought it was a distribution.
I understand.
Okay.
That's the reason I.
A color was it.
It's an addition.
So what we're suggesting is not too much of your
That be
or any of the counties.
responding, you can respond.
So that would be 10.3% and then we would add to that.
But this would be
Yes, but feel like
tourists,
people should come.
or whoever you rent a room.
I is already so high. I wonder what that does to us.
Well, it's a big piece
But
chicken,
the
yeah.
thing is,
My
what we're
goodness.
trying to do is,
My
it says
goodness.
350.
Then you have to balance that. So
And if it's some
they're
senior
your
positions, I get it, but like,
Me,
Matching funds.
So, what kind of food they fed you on Yeehaw? I heard they had lunch waiting for you.
So
yeah.
They
They know a lot of jargon.
So that's
I'm not saying that.
how we're
Oh,
gonna
yeah?
use it
The vast
as it goes to the
difference between
legislature.
a person coming in and experience and a person who has experience.
They said that they'll all line up and sing for
Did
them.
they ever think about increasing the sales
And none of it's real.
That's also just as much as
or excise tax? Excise tax has gone up amazingly. Like, sales
Yeah.
tax hasn't moved for years. Not that I want it to. I mean,
and it's one of the go-tos everybody's trying to
Siren.
If you find
One
Yeah,
time when I went on
sure.
a trip last week,
like
structure and the
as far as
sent Solomon
education.
from my office.
Oh, let me just
James
add
was
another
like,
hope they're not necessarily in
So
the
moving forward,
but
so states,
comments
all good.
like that.
Oh,
even with the budget we have right now,
I don't think that's
if you guys are nice people.
to take a bunch of non-emergency managers and bring them into the meeting, see what an emergency situation and
all these implications.
and decision make. It's not
That's
a
another
I'm in
buffer.
control.
Someone wants to come in.
I work with the
Directing the tactical mission.
HSC
So,
services.
So you
And
like
they,
three
we
people
get
over there.
subsidies also from the state. It's not very much.
Yeah.
To walk in.
You're gonna find that
Like I said, I'll show you this.
Kona and the Big Island are, well, Kona's gonna need a lot more money because they're kind of going bankrupt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're not having, they don't have very much capital anymore. I don't know why. Sure.
It was nice to meet you.
Yes, the same. Thank you. And well, I'll expect you there sometime.
Put it on the back to contract practice.
Actually here.
How much capacity?
300 gallons all the way up to 12 gallons. Hey, God.
Share that in the statewide. In the,
It was like an autumn experience. Kind of a hit. And so you ended up like, that's people's impression, right? And so, and when you limit it to people.
So Amos, the CERT program with the teens, is that through the 4-H program that you guys are doing it?
Control their.
I've coached
FIOH?
Transition. Yeah.
Is it
No, I know.
the 4-H program?
But this fire and it's a little different. The
fire
personality
more
is different.
so.
Are you working directly to schools or?
It's working directly. The program guys call
Controlling all your.
fire for the instruction.
Okay.
So we have to come in as instructors.
And so it's a different way of getting people to work together where you're not.
But they are your resources.
No, I mean, they're great. I wouldn't turn someone down, but I'm saying
Yeah.
it's all that. That's kind of what you limit with if you're.
Sure.
And you're like, you do lack that diversity and it becomes a lot of. FEMA's all kind of retired.
I'm retired EM and I was in
oh,
FEMA.
fire department.
No, in the last few years.
How is it presented in the schools? I mean, is that,
I'm saying there's not.
What kind of business?
I liked about.
Is part of the course or?
Good, good, good.
do a lot of.
So add something pop up, you could fit out.
No,
That's.
trouble thinking outside the box, you know, when you really need to find other solutions. Playing well with others.
Did you, fire agency management, there was
City of LA.
Oh, okay, so it's only during the break.
And when I retired, I went to FEMA. I left that.
But it was any.
I kind of speak English.
ways. Just what did you do in LA? You know.
I did a number of,
I'll show you what I set up on my property. Gotta find
Then it is.
it. Fire season.
operations,
Gotta find it.
training and exercises,
Literally, this conversation came up.
LA so big.
So
Has
This is a
separate
100, this is a
sections.
heavy duty truck, and I have
One
a
section.
75 tote.
I had the valley.
Yeah.
It's like what's
There's
half
one
of the
that
city.
have, like,
And the other three are big, smaller. And then I went to FEMA and I worked in the ops section as the division supervisor.
It's a lot of water I can put out. Like, I mean, that's a,
Yep.
well, like I can put out, I mean, for nuisance fires on private property,
Just strictly.
this is a 70 PSI pump. These two are just marine bilge pumps.
Okay. Well, just easy.
Yeah, easy technology.
So we took that to
Work until January.
Trader Road, and the Waldron guys, hey,
How about you? You used to
fill this thing up by helicopter? And we're like, not yet, but hold on. And now they started developing a funnel that you can attach, just screw it
Oh, cool.
across and overhead and dump the water.
I was just there. I just passed that building.
Because the more remote it is. So you're, I got one, I got spare.
It would have to expand.
You do?
I mean, it's not gonna be a lot of.
I'm thinking broader that one could have
The county.
Oh, okay.
So.
So what do you mean I should do it?
When was the last
Oh,
time you-
yeah, because they have, has a,
Years ago, for flooding, there's flood warning.
wildland fire stakeholders.
I lose track of time is, I think, not last weekend, the one before that.
In fact,
Hey, we'll get started again.
I would love to see your ES.
Go ahead
Oh, you
and
haven't finished?
do the other siren slide,
Okay.
siren
Yeah.
map, can you? The siren map movement? Yeah.
I gave up.
So just an update on statewide sirens. I know this is from across I get calls from all our elected officials, from senators to representatives on our sirens program. And Chief came up a couple of weeks ago, sat down with the sirens program, and what I think is important is that we get the information out so that the emergency managers from the state to the county things on sirens. So this is our live map. It gets updated as we the siren. So for example, we'll try to go to Koi. I don't think we put the email on yet. No, it's not on yet, but the team will add it. And we want this to be a very dynamic map for this is a public facing one, and we're going to create one for just the administrators so that you guys see the data. And when there's a question on a siren, so for right now, we click on one of the green siren, a red one, sorry, click on a red one. You know, all it's telling the community is that, hey, it's required, I got a contract out for support. That's not really saying anything. What we'll get to is where we are in the process for that maintenance of that particular siren. So we're trying to get to the granular details for every particular siren that's out there. One of the things we talked about with Maui was community ownership of the sirens. So a good example was Nanakuli kept kept calling about their sirens. I went to the neighborhood board and I said, well, your siren got vandalized 10 times. I mean, we come out, we fix it, and it gets vandalized. So we had a conversation, and so I said, okay, we'll come fix it. But if it gets vandalized, we're not fixing it again. It's gonna go it'll go part of contracting and stuff. So we went out and fixed it. It hasn't been vandalized in the past year. So having community ownership of the siren, going, yep, that's our siren that belongs to us. So we're kind of drafting some stuff that we'll share with you guys on how we're looking, like how communities can adopt a highway or a road. Kind of same idea for a siren. So we'll continue to update. In fact, the GIS person, they sat down with me. They're from the headquarters, right? Nathan, the ArcGIS people that talked to me. She said she's gonna make our map awesome, and I was like, yeah, whatever. So I challenged her. So we'll see better maps, public facing, and then of course a private one that you guys will be able to see the statuses.
Can I ask a question about the terminology? Like, requires maintenance and then maintenance required contracting support is like a little confusing. Maybe the public, I understand like the required support is like beyond the siren text. By the end of the day, I guess what I kind of want to know is like, is it working? Is it going to sound or not?
No,
And
yellow and red don't work.
they don't, so yellow doesn't, because I thought yellow was like degraded, like it might sound, but not as, but it's not working at all.
There's some issue with our communication to that siren.
Okay.
So green, good.
Okay, so everything else just assume not work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Black, what I want our text to do is go take an axe and chop down the black sirens. They're old sirens. We're not fixing that particular siren. We're gonna replace it in the area.
Should show that to
so
Kelly,
we-
so she's noted from the same
Maybe
place.
go down to a black siren on the wall somewhere. That's an example. So those black ones up top, those are civil defense sirens back in the days. In fact, the one that one right there, that's older than I am. That siren was part of the civil defense days. And what some of them don't even have siren heads. It's just a hole in the ground. So we're working to clean these up. And then what we'll do for the map is we'll put where we're proposing the siren. And then you can see, okay, we're moving it by the elementary and then where it's the status of the land acquisition contract.
I think another thing that'd be helpful for us to work together, and this is all anecdotal, so I don't know for sure, but I've heard like sometimes it gets stuck because like a neighborhood board isn't signing off, and like we have like administrations represent every neighborhood board, and like we can facilitate that, but I don't know which ones those are. And then we've had entities like Board of Water who I don't know if in the past they were one of the ones reluctant, but like, have really kind of come forward since Lahaina and trying to be more involved about making their land available. So if there are conversations we can help with about that, I just don't have what's for lack of land or at a neighborhood board. If you tell us, like, we'll try from our end too.
And that's what we want to be able to communicate through the private map with you folks is, okay, here's a siren, here's where we are, here's some of the problems. We want to use this to communicate that. So you have that ammunition when you talk to people about sirens. Like, yeah, we know it's not working. Here's what's being done. For a lot of the yellow ones, it's that's honey mosquito. The yellow sirens. Those are honey mosquito. So more to follow on the status of our maps. Okay, check those back to this. What we are working on right now, everyone next please. Next. And we're focused, what I asked the team to do is focus on tsunami sirens. You saw we have a lot of sirens that are out, we gotta replace red. This is the red sirens in the tsunami inundation. And the initial discussion was we're going to get the governor to sign an EP. Giving us authority to fix these sirens. I just go out and contract and fix these sirens. SPO wasn't very high on, but it did give us some other strategies on how we can get this done. So those are the sirens that we're focused on. What I asked the team was I want it done in 90 days. All these sirens, these particular sirens, done fixed in 90 days. So we're working the contract right now. So if you go to the map, kind of show you what sirens we're talking about. No. Okay. Next. Yep. Here's a cost. The problem is I gave this money to DAGs. So I gotta go get it back. In the CIP. Because DAGs does our contracting, and it gets lost in that area, so I gotta go put his money back. Thanks, Greg. Okay. Next. So for Maui is those two sirens, inundation zone that we're identified. Next slide. Hawaii Island. Next slide.
Wow.
Hawaii, we have 4, and then Oahu. Those red sirens, and I think the one on the Makaha, there's a little bit more than just batteries that we need to do and combine the acquisition of materials with these contracts.
Can I ask you a question about that one? Is that the Punaluu one, the one that says, I think it says OA 422?
Go to the siren map.
Okay, that there is the neighborhood board meeting tonight, and I don't know if you remember this, but I sent you an email questioning that one. The community that in that the person who's asked me about it, she says it's been out for over 2 years. So
I just got this job 18 months ago. So you can share with the board. Here's what we're doing. We have identified that as a tsunami siren, and I want it fixed in 90 days. I just got this job, so I want that siren.
starting today is the 90-day clock?
No, as soon as I get the contract. So the team is working the scope of work, and we're telling the contractors too, cannot dilly-dally. I want this done in 90 days.
When do you think you're going to get those when are you going to execute these contracts?
I think this month.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So just like SPO, when I talked to her, she started throwing stuff about 2 years ago at me. I don't know. I can't speak on that. I can speak of what we're doing right now. That's a tsunami siren. That's all.
I want to be helpful to Haiti and also the community, but this is really a sticky point. Because even then, it was what, like 4 months ago? You said it would be done immediately.
No siren. Because of process. And so that's the other thing with the state on the siren. That it goes into some kind of vortex. So some sirens are telling me it's going to get fixed in 2026. With a fixed tsunami siren. So that's why with the administrator, I think our push is tsunami sirens are priority.
Sorry.
Haima staff, we're in a briefing in. Cell phones go off, you don't want to go.
Okay. All right, next time.
So Don had about 3 times already. He had the most. But our talking point is the tsunami sirens are priority. So I'm pulling them out of whatever process they're in DAGs right now. I'm pulling them out and saying no.
Solar panels.
Sounds good.
We had a few more, like,
Just do the batteries.
record, just the back of the west side.
Is that what with the corns?
Who do we coordinate with just to reconcile, like, the rest? Have like a point person, staff that are siren, like,
David.
David, okay.
Okay, so
give them a solution.
I'll let you guys know as soon
Why
as the
can't
90
the
day
process to be procurement? Under one twenty-seven
That's
A.
the scope of work with the contract. Okay.
He says they've been nervous. Is it?
Any other questions or concerns on firing?
Crazy. AG. He said we have a bunch of shit.
Wait, Kelsey's in another meeting. She's in a FEMA plus macro meeting. So I'll brief the hazard mitigation grant program. Where this was harder than I thought it was. I thought it would be easy, but no. We're at the point where we're prepared to meet the governor with our recommendations for mitigation projects. 300 plus million available for projects. We got the NOIs, ranked them, the state hazard mitigation forum and PTAC looked at it, they ranked them at a meeting with the forum. We went back and forth with Maui. I sat with Maui last week with Josiah and his team. We talked about it. Went back to the mayor, talked about that a little bit more. So we think we have a product that I can bring to the governor to say, here's a recommendation from Honeymoon. But again, he doesn't have to go with the recommendation. He can pretty much do what he wants with the list. We have a, so if you go to the next slide. This is what the projects look like as far as cannot see the bottom. Can you gotta move the bottom.
Okay.
See the bottom one? Breaking it down by county. Click 16, go to 16. 16. If you look at the orange bars, so the state has 5 projects. Hawaii County has 1 project. Honolulu has 1. Maui County has 16. Hawaii has 5. Nonprofits have 7. So I heard a question over here. What project is that? It's Board of Water Supply for Honolulu. Hawaii's is Board of Water Supply. Hawaii Island, they have a Board of Water Supply and something else. And there's energy. You can see 7 nonprofits. Some of the statewide Department of Transportation harbors and some statewide energy stuff. So we can run the slide now. You can see the breakdown by county. 17. So 17 is our backup list. We're asking some applicants for these projects to keep the project going because I do anticipate some of the projects for the priority list to fall off and them not being able to. I go to 15 and run 15, please. Make it big. 15.
60.
Back one. Okay. Because this FEMA grant program is hard deadlines. There's hard deadlines that we need to meet. If some applicants aren't meeting the deadline, we're just going to move somebody else up that can. That's just the nature of where we need to go with hazard mitigation. So again, 300 plus million available to the state.
When you pull up the alternate programs, are they within the county or is it just the next one on the list?
The ones that were shown to be private nonprofits, were those specifically in one county?
So the nonprofits are spread across. Yeah. What we're doing here at AIMA, our hazard mitigation, there will be one person per item. And I think we combine Hawaii and Hawaii Island. There'll be a point of contact. All will have one point of contact, and Hawaii will have one point of contact. And what we did was we broke down some of the state projects that are in that particular county will be run by individuals responsible for that. So there could, so from the county's side, so like for example, there's only one for the water supply. However, there's other projects on the island. So the right?
The
Nonprofits, St. Francis is on there, Waianae Comprehensive is on there. So there are more than just one project on the island, because there's state and nonprofits on each island. Individual from Haima that's responsible for the island cover all of them. Nonprofit, state. Any questions on the mitigation?
So this is on target in terms of your timeline then?
We're still on target, yes.
Good.
We, plan is to brief the governor before Thanksgiving. Because I do anticipate the governor putting some stuff forward that he didn't make the party. And then it's going to be like, hey, sir, what do you want? If you look at the dollar, sorry, go to the next slide. We're just at about 351 bed shares. We're right on the cusp of the max that we'll get. And then conversation we had earlier about the bill, what we like to do in the state is generating enough funds to cover the non-fish. So the cost share would come from.
That is what the primary,
So
only water was,
counties
so it's
and
not
nonprofits
65 of water.
are taken. Okay. Other questions on? We'll start to produce this for the year so that we can share upcoming exercises with all of our partners. So this year, in March, we'll do a AIMA, FEMA, Homeland Defense Roundtable discussion. We're shifting and kind of looking at what happens when the United States goes on a war footing in the Pacific. What does that mean for war? We're starting those conversations. A year ago, the FEMA administrator told the conference of all the administrators across the country, pull up the civil defense force, dust it off, because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about homeland defense. We're at war. What's the worst case scenario for your state if we're at war? So I asked, we have working groups here at AIMA. We'll start that process. We'll start to bring in more and more groups. January, under DBED, they have the Office for Military Civilian Outreach or something. There'll be a contract in January. Contractors that will help us through a 3-year process of in 2027, early 28, somewhere around there, we'll do a statewide exercise on homeland defense. Hopefully, we're not at war by 2020. There's some people that are saying we're going to have to accelerate this. So that's that start in the middle for March. Yeah. We're really down. It's
Expand on that last comment, or?
as far as,
I'm just-
oh no, there's so some analysts are pointing within 2 years that it's a we went from competition to conflict with China. And then, you know, as we're looking at the state, what does Hawaii have that would be a strategic target? If you look at Maui, initially Maui was like that. I think it was I think Big Island pretty safe. Wall. Yeah. So what is the impact for the critical infrastructure? What does that mean as we move into this competition with the Pacific?
I make one request. Is it possible to invite the board members here to the round table?
It's going to be limited seating, so I can't. I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no. But there's limited seating. Yeah, so that's my answer right now.
Is there maybe the location can be changed for better seating, or?
Working with people. So I'll put it in as a question mark, but I'm not gonna say yes or no.
Just maybe as a
And then, any other questions on that event?
So the scenario is a conventional war as opposed to a nuclear?
Well, what I'm asking the team is to look at most dangerous. So the most dangerous is I'm letting the team come up with this, but the most dangerous to us in the state is a nuclear attack. The most likely that we know is going to happen, we're going to get cyber. Cyber will happen.
It's happening, I think.
Right, cyber attack, but that spectrum of cyber attack going to where it's now catastrophic. What is that? That spectrum.
But you're looking at China as opposed to Korea.
Yeah.
Is that just because that's more predictable as opposed to unpredictable North Korean actions?
It's what the analysts are, and a lot of open source documents that you look at on the window, and they're telling us there's a window. One of the things that the team is looking at, it might not be that window of opportunity. It might be just a spark of an accident.
Yep.
And China ran 14 ships that are flying around jets, Chinese jets, Taiwan.
Right.
There might be an accident to that level. And then we jump back into hurricanes. Issue back for and then some military goes through their exercise. What we're trying to get to is Homeland Defense tabletop exercise in May. One of that I can invite you to, guaranteed. We're hosting that. May's tabletop Homeland Defense, absolutely.
in May. Will you invite the whole committee? I mean,
Yeah,
you know, board members?
Yeah. Piece of. What we have there for 9 is a state emergency management symposium. What we want to do is host a one-day event and invite anyone that sees themselves as part of the emergency management enterprise for the state. So we're having conversations with the team. We'll put together a committee to host that June event. It'll be a one-day, like I said, day-long event somewhere not here that we're hosting, and we have first responders, like, for example, Team Rubicon could have a table there, kind of show what they do in emergency management. American Red Cross can show what they do. Looking at bringing in like a guest speaker, kind of the keynote, kind of talk emergency management. One year or whatever, we're putting that together. That'll lead us into McCullough Heating in June. And our exercise program now will be 2025 is a crawl, a very small pre-activation of the EOC 1 day impact, and then post impact on Thursday. And Wednesday, which is Kamehameha Day, is a holiday for the state. It's not a holiday for the federal guys. We'll sit down with the National Guard and talk and put together our Hawaii EVAC team. That's what work that piece on the 11th, which is a holiday for us. And then we get into the this one, the tsunami exercise in April. Local tsunami exercise in April. What we did last year was in April, we did a distant tsunami, and we had the governor call in and we went through the whole protocol. I got a lot of scolding from the governor on this because he's in the middle of legislative session. He was super busy that day, and I'm texting him exercise. We're gonna say, well, not on the calendars. So what we're doing is we're kind of gonna flip it where in April we do localized tsunami, and we just did the distant tsunami. So that way, the localized one, if we don't need him on that. Not across the whole so that's tsunami piece. Any questions on exercises?
For the exercises, are you including any of the hospitals or healthcare facilities in this?
They are in the discussion. As just completed for November, McCullough concept and objective initial planning. So they're involved. The HHKAM is part of it.
What about HHSC, Hawaii Health Services Corporation?
So, yeah, so
This is HHSC is a state entity, or it gets state.
Well, it's the one that he has, an entity, and he has that's the emergency component of their organization. It's a long acronym, so you always forget what it is.
and as we move into 25 is a crawl. 26 we want to do more of a walk and more partners and maybe some exercise lanes, stick lanes that are focused on maybe some part of our response. And then in 27 is a run, where we're looking at what we really wanted to do last year was a MLE full scale exercise, where it's a statewide full scale exercise. There's activities on the ground happening. All the EOCs are activated from the state. All our docs are activated at the EOCs.
So is this your TEP? Is this like a 3-year TEP? Training and exercise program, this is like 3 years, this is year 1.
Yes.
And year 2 is 2020.
26.
26, okay.
And so 26 would be the walk.
Are you gonna get down to exercising and training with nonprofits and business?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. They would be part, so when we do a full scale, so this, like I said, this is the crawl. John will update us on his conversations and the EOC, nonprofits in the community. So when we get to that full scale, it's from the community all the way up to the state DOC, even with our federal partners. They always, I can say, we've always gotten great support from FEMA in our exercises with having the IMPs come forward and be part of the game.
Could we get a copy of this slide? Thank you. Okay, that's fine. We'll get it. Okay.
And, so if it's red, that means it's not solid.
Okay.
So that is, as we confirm dates, it'll turn black. Okay. Next slide. Next. All right, John.
All right. So community outreach, we've come a long way. We've actually fallen into a nice rhythm. I started last May in the position, and as of March, we hired 5 more for the team. So there's a total of 6 of us right now. And, the directive was really to learn about our partnerships and our community connectivity. And this past year, we actually participated in almost 40 events, whether they be preparedness fairs, presentations within the DOE schools. Along with that, we presented a lot of, we call pitch and present for HR programs. And so really, we've done our work, and we continue to strive to be a part of the bigger solution, right? A lot of things we've had to learn, and we still continue to learn. What we're doing now in the next 90 days is really ramping up for next year. Yeah. In regards to what we're focusing on is mainly these 3 areas right now. It's the HR, public-private partnerships, and the Business Emergency Operations Center. Yeah, all of this is sort of being, with the exception of HR, but we're revamping the HR. So we're starting all this from the ground up. And that's a good thing, but there's a lot of challenges there. So what we've come up with is in regards to HR, as we reached out to all the communities across the state, we learned about a lot of great leaders that are already in the communities, already doing good things, whether they be a part of a CERT, a nonprofit program, whatever it may be. And now what we're looking at are these communities that really is a combination of vulnerability, but as well as with connectivity and how they're looking towards working with us. So villages of Kapolei, there's about 4,000 homes across the 8 villages out in Kapolei. And so we're ramping them up and they're engaging with us. Palama Settlement, a lot of things going on within urban Honolulu as well. And then Waimanalo was one of the stronger initial HR programs back in 2014. And so when we met with Chief Randall Lindsay and Josiah Akau, they're very interested in working with CERT programs, youth programs, training up. But again, we're having these conversations and we're closer to identifying how we're going to move forward in next year. Another one is with Amos and his team in MEMA. We had a discussion on what HRP is and what that might look like. So we're jumping, leaning in heavier with Amos and his team, as well as the community leaders that Maui County is looking at. Yeah, we sort of across the state, the different islands, we've sensitively moved in certain areas where we knew different situations were going on, and we know that Maui has been going through a lot. So we've kind of been patiently waiting to work with MEMA to identify what it might look like as a program across Maui. And then Vibrant Hawaii, we've been a great conversation with Chief Oliveira and Janice in identifying what Vibrant Hawaii has already done on the Big Island, and some of them model and what they're modeling that could possibly work across the state. So these 5 really is in the next 90 days. We want to get to the point of start making some commitments to build HRPs come the new year. We're looking at January 13th as that date that says, all right, we actually want commitments to build so we can dive deeper in with the leaders in that community. And remember that the HRP was designed as to be administered by HAIMA and the county leadership, and the leaders in the communities are considered facilitators. So if you look through the administrative guide and the user guide, it continually states that. And the outcome in an emergency operations plan is focused around a 14-day scope. right? It's 14 days. How can a community be resilient and self-reliant for 14 days, knowing of the possibilities of isolation and having to wait on first responders? So moving with that and connected with that is our public-private partnership. Working with the Hawaii Chamber of Commerce, they agreed to work on a survey with us so that we can just basically ask what are the basic needs of their members or the business communities, and what is it that what do they understand about our system, our government system, the agencies, and then how do we identify best ways to facilitate coordination between the private sector, public-private partnerships with our communities within our agencies. Another one is partner registration. One of the first things we want to do is be able to gather information from all the private partners that are out there, right? We know that just nonprofits alone, there's 9,000 across the state. I'm not sure what the number is for small businesses or businesses and corporations, but what we want to do is have a general registration so that we can gather information. We already have a list, so we're not pushing towards perfection and getting everything squared away 2 months from now. We want to get this list up sooner than later. And then what's really exciting too is I'm a part of OB3I, which is a female program, and OB3I is infrastructure industry integration, and they work to train up the private sector liaisons across the nation. I'm one of those private sector liaisons, and what we're identifying is through FEMA's guidelines right now is how do we stand up a business emergency operations center for Hawaii? Yeah. And that would include nonprofits, for-profits, partnerships, a little bit of the community, but for the most part, the community will be separate from that business EOC. So right now we're looking at phase one, standing up the BEOC on March 7th. That's a projected deadline to get at least the first phase stood up. Along the way, though, we have to identify operationally what that looks like, right? Working with everyone to identify what that looks like in actual reality and what the communications are. So a communication platform is one of the other things we're looking at. What are the possibilities or what are the options to use the appropriate platform for communication? So yeah, so these are things we're focusing on in the next 90 days. Open questions?
What are the counties involved in the EOC? So for instance, like, I just see opportunities for collaboration. Like I said, we've been working with our Office of Economic Revitalization to do a survey around the hazard mitigation plan that's going to go through the chambers of commerce. Like, we don't look coordinated when we do that kind of, not blaming either way, but it's just like, how do we do a united kind of front? And they're very interested in engaging local businesses on Oahu. That's county specific, but I see like opportunities there. Like, how does the county effort, the state effort?
Yeah, so I think, there is, when we look at, we want to be a resource to the counties, right? We're not going to be the source of solving these problems or these connections and partnerships. But right now we have the manpower to go out and identify, okay, who are the counties? Who are you folks working with? So we know, okay, at least of what coordination is already happening. So as far as the BEOC, these are the things that we're looking at. Who do we invite as the heads, that to represent the different areas or sectors? And we already are finding out, there are companies that are national companies, but locally have all of their affiliates or their distribution across each island. So that's something we'll have to coordinate and work with you folks on.
Can I ask, so this is the BOC, this room we're sitting in, right? Is it?
Business Recovery Center.
Business Recovery Center, okay. So the state is just now getting into the BOC effort. We've not had,
Yes, we have not, yeah.
okay,
And across the nation, I mean, we're looking, the OB3I was stood up about 3 years ago. So it's still it's a process across the nation of the different states doing it their different ways, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
all states are at different levels, that's true.
yeah.
So who are your 3 biggest partners so far?
Well, we haven't identified that yet right now. Yeah, we're just looking at the structure. We're structurally want to stand this up, understand what Jennifer's asking, how does it operationally work,
I can tell you that the ones that you really should focus in on are the Targets, the Walmarts, those big box store, Costco. Target is really resilient in their emergency operations center functioning. They're strong. So for the supply chain component, they're really important. And they're willing to partner. They will partner with you. That would be my recommendation. You zero in on the Targets, the Costcos.
One of the private sector liaisons that I'm regularly meeting with is California, and they have those relationships, and she's saying the same thing because California is so active, that those are critical partnerships that they're utilizing.
Especially for us with the supply chain issues that we have.
Yeah.
So part of this came out of our experience with small. On a lot of the bigger companies not knowing their emergency managers. So yes, Target, all these other people, but I went to a group, I think it was Hero, and it was the financial industry. They're going, I didn't know what to brief my CEO. Where am I going to get the information?
And that's your ticket.
So that's this piece right here. So that's that financial institutions, the medical piece. You have Department of Health and the ESS, but what about the other folks? There's another network that kind of there's a overlap happening.
Well, the other thing is that when you approach the companies, they're going to want to know what they can get out of it. What they're going to get out of it is information, situational awareness that they can then in turn tell their employees. So they'll get that before the news, they hear stuff in the news. They'll get it directly from the source that they should be working with. And that's the thing that brings them in. And then once you get that going, there's all these training models that you can follow. And you bring them in and you do exercises, and then you have to figure out how they integrate into the EOC.
Yeah, and that's what Mr. Barros was talking about. When we're ready to exercise, as we build these areas, we are bringing this connectivity into the exercise so that we can refine how it actually will work and how we improve, right? How we refine this process.
Yeah. You're going to find them very supportive if they feel like you're feeding them information, like you make them feel important. And they are.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
All right, so this is the legislative package for HIMA for this session going forward. We have two bills that's been offered to the governor to be hopefully accepted as part of the governor's package, administrative package. The first one is regarding civil service positions and transferring them in or transitioning them into exempt positions. The second one is in regards to establishing community readiness centers around the state. Part of that, our hope is to tax. The way we're going to fund this is by adding additional tax to the federal gas tax. And then kind of
so that we wrote it that way after talking to Senator Wokai and conversations with the governor's office. Like that part we got to relook. So it's in there, but I think we're going to black it out and rewrite that.
What's the definition of a community readiness center?
Oh.
He just paid attention.
Well, a community readiness center is basically what we would like to look at as a resiliency hub. The challenge is that right now, resiliency, as far as a resiliency hub, has many definitions depending on the organization that we're dealing with. The challenge is we want to build community readiness centers to go along with the HRPs that are designated by or partnered with HIMA, so that we would put up a central location that would be kind of like a community center, right? You would have the ability to possibly be a shelter, kitchen, storage area, refrigeration for medications that some displaced person needs to kind of keep cool, so on. Again, this community readiness centers are only going to be established or built when identified with HIMA as far as the HR program. And that HR program wouldn't be there, would be a collective of HRs in the community, and they would have this central location. And it just provides HIMA, the county, as well as everyone else, the understanding, okay, in a disaster, we're gonna meet over here. And at the community readiness center, just kind of like a resiliency hub, you would have information, you would have possibly medical care, you would have supplies and so on. But it wouldn't be the only designation. The HRs would, with the collection or partnership with the HRs, they would kind of massage that to best help the community.
So these funds would be for purchasing new buildings, building buildings, using existing buildings that are
Yes.
vacant.
All of it. Yes.
Okay. and
We're
then-
readying it in a way that we can do the whole gauntlet, from building to retrofitting to just partnering with the existing structure or organization.
So what's your anticipated request budget-wise? What?
So, like the administrator said, how we wrote this with that barrel tax, we're looking at possibly getting a couple million a year, and then just building from that. Now, keeping in mind, we know that $2 million is not really going to do that much. It's to start the program and go from there. And with the discussions with the legislators as well as the governor's office, still in flux of really how we're going to finance this and to actually have a dollar amount.
Okay.
The last two bills, we're partnering with our chairmen for the committees that kind of watch over HIMA from both the House and the Senate. But knowing that that's a fluid thing right now because they're working and whatnot. So the first bill is to build an endowment, well, there's already an existing hazard mitigation special fund, but now we're trying to inject money through an additional TAT tax to the statewide TAT tax of 0.3%. With that, the state will be able to cover the cost share or the statewide cost share for the 357 million hazard mitigation monies that we're looking at as of right now. And the mechanism as far as us using the TAT is also a fluid thing. As it goes through the meat grinder of the state legislature, it's gonna be molded, kicked around, discussed, debated, and so on. So that's that bill. The last one, we're looking at, again, trying to establish HIMA warehouses throughout the state, knowing that Kauai already had gone down that road and then had the fundings cut. Trying to build on that idea just as much as establish another one on Big Island and use the mechanism of geo funds or geo bonds. With that, that's it. Any questions in regards to the legislative package?
So this is what we're currently tracking. We anticipate list growing as. Bottom one, we got $1 million. There was a bill for $1 million last year. It got lost in the session. Kind of everybody pivoted.
One last thing, to speak to the Kauai bill that we already partnered with David Kenner. The third bill is kind of accommodate that concerns. The one that Representative Nakamura had submitting for you guys.
Just to throw it out there, for the last one, for the store and deploy supplies, I think that there may be some space in the resilience hub that we're working on. That's just consider that because I think you do need to put some supplies on that side as well.
Well, yes, but not with this. So this is actually building
New
buying
facility.
warehouses, new facilities, buying land, building new facilities. So yes to this. Okay. That's our time update. Let me jump to the next slide because there's some things I want to throw out at Hazel. A couple things, a couple meetings ago, we looked at asking purpose for Haysom. Handed out with the kind of the draft piece of it, and I know you guys are going to have discussions on that. What I'd like to ask Haysom to do is work on a state emergency management staffing baseline. FEMA will be, I thought they were going to come up with it this summer. They pushed it to next summer, where they're going to share from their perspective what emergency management should look like across the country. So now, I asked Chief Oliveira, would this be something that Haysom could maybe take on, of kind of looking at what Hawaii should be? So here, I would give you, here's what my manning document looks like. Here's what the county manning documents look like. What should be our baseline? And we put that in front of our elected officials. So when legislators ask me, I'm right now I have 95 individuals employed at Honey. Is that the right size? And I said no. What's the right size? I said 150. But we need that kind of baseline recommendation from somebody and not me sitting in my office going 150. What should Oahu look like? What should Maui do? What should that baseline be that we're saying, hey, we don't want to go under. We can go over, but we don't want to go under. So is that something, Chief, you think ASOM could, and it's kind of linked to the next one, where we're looking at, okay, what's the qualification levels that we're talking about? We're already working on our
Mission description.
no, so we have those NQS, right? That we're working on those now. But this would be something that we work and update our PD. Okay. Here's kind of what we're saying is the baseline. If ASIM comes back and says, hey, administrators need PhDs in emergency management, then we capture that, and that's the recommendation. We go back to the governor and say, hey, sir, here's from this advisory council, here's what we're laying out. And then we push whatever this baseline is. Now we push with our ledge, and the council's going, here's what we need. Because when I look at the funding that the state gives us, I have, like I said, 95 on staff. They fund 45 of that is 100% state. Maybe 55. I get no more. I have more grant funding from state dollars. So when the state ledge kind of come and bang on me, I'm like, here's what you fund me for. I'm and at 95 people. You're only funding me for this. So what do I really want to ask them for? And that's why. What is that baseline? What does that look like?
Can I ask you two questions? When do you need this by? What is your deadline that you're looking for? Well, when you do you want to present this in 2026 or 2025?
I want to say 2025.
Okay. And have you already done some basic groundwork on comparing with other states? So.
No, I have. No.
You haven't.
But that's what the federal municipal as well as state level. That's why we're asking.
They're having trouble.
So
Yeah.
we're asking.
Okay. I don't know, I think, Daryl, I think it's something that we can do, like at least a preliminary, like, it's hard to talk when I can't see him. Well, we can do like a, I mean, I feel like we can pitch in.
Daryl, I said next month. Now, he said, sometime in 2025.
I agree with that. I have a question though. Is this based upon Homeland Defense or is this based upon normal operating procedures? Okay.
So keep in mind that the FQS for FEMA was just completed in the last year and a half ago. Because I was with FEMA and they just completed FQS for all their employees. So that was supposed to be kind of like the baseline for the qualifications, which in turn is what the baseline they were using for staffing requirements on the state.
Is that based upon population? Or is that based upon the location? Or because we've got such remote locations that it's kind of hard to have. If you go by a population basis, we don't qualify for even 0, I think, Kauai.
Right, so a lot of what FEMA does is they use the data from the census, right? So they use all of those studies as part of how they start that discussion. Being with them for a while and how they do their processes, that's one of the things that they rely on because it's something that they actually did in the last 10 years. So no, I believe it's on some of the they start looking at the social vulnerability scales and stuff like that too, those studies. I'm not quite sure how they're gonna, I think that's why they're asking for the postponement on that.
So what documentation would you provide the committee?
I'm thinking I'll provide my current staffing documents with, here's what's 100% state funded, here's what's 50% funded, here's what is grant or trust. So you would see the entire structure of HAIMA and where the funding sources are.
And also, could you provide that 150 wish list or goal that you had and what the position breakdowns were?
Yes. And then we want the counties to share their staffing documents. Here's what my staff are. Here's what I'd like to get, and kind of have those conversations. Up to you guys.
Well, I guess we'd have to take this offline a little bit and talk with Daryl.
And then Daryl, I
You
know
do that?
Daryl was gonna have a conversation with him because he's sunshine.
So what?
Sorry, sunshine.
So because there's sunshine, the members can only talk to each other. Only 2 members. So you cannot discuss in groups of 3. So it has to be 2.
but it can't be consecutive either.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you cannot chain your conversations together.
Can we just have like an ad hoc virtual meeting
You can,
that can be public?
you could
Yeah.
schedule more frequent meetings. The other thing you can do, the other thing you can do is create what they call a permitted interaction group. So to create that, all you have to do is at a public meeting, you have to say, and it's typically the chair that does it. The chair will say, I'm creating a permitted interaction of the members. You can designate less than your quorum. And then that group can meet with each other however many times they want. And then they have to report their findings at a meeting. So that's one way you can take it offline. And there's no formalities with creating a group like that. You just have to announce it at a meeting and what the purpose is. So that's one way you can do it offline.
But I mean, what's to stop us from creating a virtual meeting and just saying it's a public meeting, announce it as a public meeting?
Do that. I mean, it's just, you'll have to go through the same logistics work that you go through, right?
We're gonna post them at the lieutenant governor's office. We're gonna put up the minutes, days ahead of time.
But it's essentially law requires you to have a physical location.
Yeah, I have a building in Hauula, they can all come there.
Yeah, so as long as you do that.
If we need to, I think, Daryl, it's an option. Otherwise, you said we can't meet at the quorum. So we have to meet, somebody has to miss the meeting.
Yeah, if you don't, there's three ways. So one way is to do more frequent meetings that you comment. The second way is only 2 members can meet. The third way is to create that permitted interaction group. You can have more than 2 but less than 4. And the group has to report that.
I will tell you, I've been on 2 neighborhood boards walking by at the beach. The first option is kind of hard to do because you won't have quorum sometimes. Because all the members can't meet at the same time, even though you have more frequent. The easiest one is the PIG, which is the permitted interaction group, because then you can do all that you want to do and get all the members there that you name into the group. And you're not, so that you don't have to adhere to essential law. The only part is also timing, and there's also a time period that's attached to that. You have to have, within so many days of what you decided. Some of your, what is the final thing is the reports.
Okay, so 2 follow-ups. Is it possible for you to email us, the board members, these options and the rules for each of them? And then also, James, is it possible to have some sort of administrative support for any side meetings that we do if needed? I don't know if we need it.
Well, so Daryl, I don't recommend we do another HSUM board meeting. But we go down the route of that pig. Yes. And we get that going, because now all we gotta do is report back. So there's no, we don't have to do minutes.
No minutes?
It's just a report back.
Pig just has to
What is quorum? There's 6 of us. So quorum is 5 or quorum is 4?
Is there 6 of us?
So we can have up to 4.
You can have up to 5. You can have 5.
less than 4.
Yeah, so
Less than
you
4.
you can have 5. Well, can't you get 5? Oh, you had less than quorum.
Yeah.
Ah, less than quorum.
So 3 people is the max.
Can you have 2 pigs going on?
Yep. You can have
We can have several.
Invest.
Sorry to call it, but that's.
One for the 3 of us. Oh, it works with, good to look at it. Do some kind of subgroups with the counties. I'm just thinking if one of the objectives is the governor's group. So if you get something, like if this group advises them even though there's representatives from the counties, like if part of the objective of the mayor is to buy into the final report, but haven't been involved in like the development, I don't know if there's a way to take like the county member and then have like a subgroup with other like we have it, it's county level advisory group. I don't know the right combination, but it would be representatives from this group working with people from the local county perspective and reporting back. Is that something like that? Not just thinking from the political side, if you feel like there's ownership from the mayor's side, if they have to ultimately fund revenue.
But the big members can talk to whoever they want. So,
So just the board members.
Just the-
I can talk to you.
You can put anybody on the side. Because they're bound by the sunshine law as members of these.
I mean, I think it sounds doable. So you would want like just a white paper or some kind of just report on recommendations for staffing.
Agree, that's what it would be.
But we don't have. How about pay?
I think you can, but you can't. You can only talk to them one at a time. You can't tell the other one what the other one said. You can pull them. You know, on that one, it might be better if we talked offline. So can I email you your schedule?
Maybe you're not a person.
Can I send you an email for get your schedule where we can talk offline? Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, Keith, thanks. And the final thing I have is for 2025 ASUM meeting. We're looking at the second month of the quarter, and we'll have 4 next year. So February 12th, May 7th, August 13th, and November 12th. So if nobody's opposed to having, on the second month of the quarter, having a meeting, we'll put this out in a memorandum for record of these dates.
September 12th, 7th.
August 13th and November. Yeah, it's Wednesdays.
Is this in that, what time month?
Sorry, I have like our cabinet during Wednesday, so is it like at the same time or like do you usually do earlier?
So it's around, I think 10:30 is a good time. Maybe 10:30 to 2. We're going over 1:30 mark, so I think 10:30 gives enough time for people to come in. And it'll always be a working lunch.
I think it's also for the neighborhoods too. I know the airlines changed their schedule, so. Yeah.
These dates, I'll next. Darrell, that's all I have from my side.
That was one of those, I'm sorry, that was one of those that
Yeah.
Ethan was talking about, the second bill. Just for clarification on the staffing requirement, you had talked about some of them were federal funded, some were grant funded, and some were state funded. We're not interested in where the funding comes from, right? We're just looking at staffing levels as opposed to.
I think part of it is, the state's commitment to fund positions. So I would share that with you guys. You guys could kind of look at that. If I'm at 95 people hired, if you're only funding 55, what happens when the federal grants start to shrink? Do I start cutting people from the agency? So part of it is to look at the funding base.
Okay. Right.
And I think what Honey was going to have to do too with the election this past week on and where grants are going, EMPG, we're going to have to kind of relook at our funding piece and how we're staffed.
This also include without getting into politics, apparently there was some held for Puerto Rico at one point in time. They had and we're not exactly on the red list, so we have to look at how to respond to funding, or how we're going to emergencies, minus X amount of funding from FEMA.
No, on the response side, I don't think there's gonna be. My concern is with EMPG. As that constant, we see that shrinking over time. That's the,
Management performance grant.
So we use that for, a lot of us use that for staffing.
Training, travel.
Counties use
But
that
that's
for
what Chelsea was on, right? But Chelsea was on there.
So
I don't know if we funded it
over
with the
time, it's
performance.
going down.
Originally.
And I think we gotta start to look at what happens if it accelerates.
Glenda made a good point for this book, the white paper. Our primary goal is to make staffing position recommendations, not necessarily how they'll be funded.
I mean, that can be the second part of it after that, which may go with what looks like it's more reasonable under X, Y, or Z. But to begin with, I think the staffing levels alone is enough of a challenge to begin with.
Yeah, and also keep in mind this, if people don't meet that, train for them, there's task force that you have to complete, checklist, to become qualified. So I think that's also what you should consider as well in your discussions.
Wait.
Not everybody here in Hawaii is, like for myself, I was fortunate to have gotten to FEMA. It's hard to get in. It's very hard to get into emergency management, period. But this gives an opportunity for people to see if we can get residents here in Hawaii to at least get qualified.
So we're looking at position recommendations. We're not looking at the other qualified, right?
Well,
I mean, that's not part
But
of
they
what.
would together, the qualification as well as the staffing requirements, right? I mean,
How about if we do this?
make that baseline, right? I'm saying, but keep in mind that with our local capacity, there's not much people that are in the emergency management field. I'll tell you definitely, because I know for myself how many people there are in the federal level as well as the state.
We want to help you with that, but I think that for now, we probably can manage staffing recommendations and positions, but not position qualification. I think that's a whole level.
Right,
We
but
can't
coming
get
from
to.
your expertise, what did you mention?
No, so we're going back to what's the current ask right now?
Yeah.
Yes, but I think as you guys have the conversations with Darryl, you guys will kind of define that scope for Nation.
We can do this in a stepwise fashion. It doesn't have to all be done at, the elephant can be built leg by leg.
But for initial deliverable, for lack, the initial ask, the positions we can work on, and then maybe part 2, part 3.
Or face it out.
Okay.
Right? And I know because you as a former MD understand what offense.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's why.
Yeah. Because there's also, I mean, if you're going to go down that route, there's also funding for training and everything else. And so, but that's later down the road. Right.
That's why just to consider it.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments from the room? Darryl, nothing on this side.
Could I ask one last question before we do this, before we leave this? On the first meeting or on the first session that we have on the staffing issue, which would probably only be on how do we organize ourselves and what times and how do we do this, which doesn't have anything to do with the content of the staffing. Can that be done as a group without having to go through the whole pig route?
So that's actually that's exactly what I wanted to discuss with Daryl.
Okay, okay.
You can coordinate amongst yourselves on like scheduling and stuff like that. That's
Right.
exactly what.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
But I didn't want to just answer without,
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Same here. Same.
Thanks, Daryl.
Not having this anymore since you showed.
Yeah, I clicked right. I wasn't even rolling. Next time though.
Thank you.